We're connecting to the cloud. All right. It looks like we are live. Becky. Oh,
Hi.
hello, everyone. How are we doing today? We are just thrilled to be here. My name is Dr. Chris Menges, and I'm Chief Veterinary Officer for Basepaws. And with me, right over here to my right, I think to my right, maybe to your right, I don't know. We've got Beckie Mosser. And so if you all don't know Beckie, Beckie is a registered veterinary technician. She works with Basepaws, particularly around cat coaching and a lot of education. And I am not doing her justice introducing her all the way, so I'm going to let her give herself a little more introduction as well.
Well, thanks, Dr. Chris. I'm excited to be here. That's right. I am the head coach at Coach My Cat for Basepaws, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the opportunity we've run for our community to have some one-on-one coaching opportunities, as well as deep dives into lessons on cat behavior and health. So I have a passion for client education. I love the opportunity to educate our owners on all the things that they have on their mind about their cats and how to help create longer, healthy, happier lives for their cats and to help serve that human-animal bond. So I'm excited to be here for the conversation today.
Perfect. And while she mentions the conversation we're having is cats and coffee. Cats and coffee. I know we're a little late in the day, but
never too late for coffee.
Never, especially when we may be a little bit locked indoors, a little bit kind of stir crazy or not as energetic from moving around.
That's right.
To get that afternoon going.
That's for sure.
So we're doing a little bit of a cats and coffee conversation, just a short little talk and a chance for y'all to get to know us and for us to get to know you. So we're actually going to start off with a couple kind of announcements about Basepaws. If y'all have been seeing our emails, seeing our blogs, as we all know, coronavirus, COVID-19 is proverbially dominating the headlines today in about every single section of the market. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're here. And it is having effects on factories, on schools, on really just on how the way the world works at this point in time. Unfortunately, as we've had to adjust to that as well in our lab. Did you know that, Beckie? We are pulling down some. We're pulling down some staff.
I've heard, and I think I think we're making tough decisions in a tough time, but necessary decisions, right?
Yeah, necessary decisions. One of the things we're really looking at is making sure we're keeping our staff safe. Working with as much of these social distancing advice and cleaning advice that we can to make sure that we do keep our staff from potentially, getting infected as well. That's one of the key things is that we all do our part on here.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're hoping to bring is a brightness to the day and maybe a little break up to the day for all those folks who are working from home, which is new for a lot of individuals. Not everyone's used to that, and it's brought up a lot of opportunity for us to connect with our Basepaws community. I'm excited about that.
Yes, it certainly has. So, even though our lab has slowed down a little bit, it's actually given us a little bit more time. One of our core missions here at Basepaws is to advance feline health. While we primarily are working on doing that through sequencing and learning more about their DNA, there's a huge need for that to occur also online, also through digital media, because we're able to help you find sources that are good sources that you can learn the best about how to take care of your cat, how to create a cat healthy home for you and your cat. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started in some fun things today. I know we talk about coronavirus and the tagline is COVID, but just in general, just to go ahead and I don't know if you've seen this. This is kind of one of my we'll say favorite little memes that's come out of coronavirus right now. With all the toilet paper shortages, I'm sure our cats are having a fun time with the stockpiles that have been built up at home.
I'm just hoping my cat doesn't see this because they haven't learned yet the joy of unrolling a whole roll of cat. Don't get me in trouble over here.
Just giving them bad ideas.
That's right. You're bad influence.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully they'll spice up your day a little bit.
That's right. I mean, we have to laugh in times like these and you know, keep our sense of humor. And what better way to do it than memes, right? This is the best time for the internet.
Oh, it is. Now, we've already had a fair amount of questions about coronavirus, and I know you've had a fair amount of questions as well that kind of came through. But so, kind of, what if we're gonna move a little bit into coronavirus and talk a little bit about why we're all staying in our homes? Kind of where does that conversation start for you?
You know, I think it's the bigger picture. We really have to think about the fact that a lot of what we have with coronavirus is unknown, and we're
Mhm.
learning more on a daily basis. It seems like right now everything's evolving on a daily basis and even maybe hourly. So
Mhm.
I think it's important to for all of us to kind of know the right sources and stay up to date, but make sure we're staying up to date with the organizations that are putting out the right information and good information, and as much information as we have about something that is really rather unknown.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And a lot of the questions that we get kind of straight off with this, while we emphasize it's unknown, there's a lot of new. Um, there's because it is a new virus. We don't know as much, so we do get a lot of questions. Primarily the main question that I have kind of asked to me from a standpoint is, can coronavirus, can this COVID question or COVID-19 infect our cats? And we have not seen any evidence of that at this point in time. We're looking through the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, World Health Organization, the American Veterinary Medical Association, are all talking about how there's no evidence our cats can get sick from this virus at this point in time. And so we do have a lot of questions about COVID-19, but then we also have a lot of questions that are saying, my cat was recently diagnosed with coronavirus, or my cat got coronavirus and got very sick from that. And what's that confusion? What's that little bit of confusion there?
Well, sure. I think the confusion is that coronavirus is really an umbrella term, right? So I think what we need to do is to talk about coronavirus as we know it, as it affects our cats especially, even our dogs, but then what it is compared to COVID-19.
Mhm. It is, and it's right. And so when we think about coronaviruses, like you mentioned, it's really an umbrella term. So coronavirus technically actually means a family. It's a family of viruses that are across the world, and a large number of them. We see many that are human specific. We see many that are animal specific or very species specific. So when we think about a human specific coronavirus, before COVID-19 rolled around, did you know that 15% of the common colds are caused by coronaviruses
I
already?
didn't actually know that.
Yeah, yeah. So we have actually been getting coronaviruses long time before COVID-19 showed up. This is just a different one. This is kind of a new scenario on here. Now our cats, when we think about our cats getting coronavirus and getting sick from coronavirus, uh, that is what's known as feline enteric coronavirus. So this is a virus that can cause, typically it's very mild for most of our cats, but in some very serious cases, it can cause feline infectious peritonitis. And that is that very, very serious and very deadly disease that we all know about with our cats getting coronavirus and getting sick from coronavirus. So this is a different coronavirus. COVID-19 at this point in time seems to be very human specific. So we don't have any evidence of COVID-19, the dominating the headlines virus right now, infecting dogs or cats, allowing them to become symptomatic or carriers in their nostrils or anything like that in their nasal mucosa. So that's really kind of the difference. That feline enteric coronavirus, it's very common. It's around the United States. A large percentage of cats already have it, but most don't show any signs or symptoms. But if you do, get a little bit more sick from that.
And so I think it's just kind of to summarize important to say that we don't know that that there is basically no form of coronavirus that we're dealing with that is what we call zoonotic, meaning you
Mhm.
can give it to your pet if you become infected, nor can your pet become infected and pass it to you with a different species of coronavirus that infect the different humans and animals, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, while its origin appears to have been zoonotic, it originally jumped from bats, It is not doing this jumping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth game that we're seeing. We're only seeing human to human transmission at this point in time.
Right. So then I think one of the biggest things we are being asked in that case is I've had a lot of people saying, should I quarantine for my pets? And I think a lot of people have been given the impression that if they don't feel well, if they're sick, or if they are infected with COVID-19, specifically coronavirus, that they should be quarantined or separated from their pets. So what would you say to that?
Well, that's kind of an ideal scenario. When we think about quarantining, this is, as we mentioned, there's a lot of unknowns. And so a lot of these quarantine are better safe than sorry guidances. With this quarantine from your pets, if you have the opportunity, the ability to self-isolate from your pets, that would be great. It just, what that really does is that reduces any questions. While we say at this time, we don't see any infection rates, we don't see any infections of jumping to dogs or cats or any of our pets. Because it's so new, the CDC is being very much on that side of let's be safe and remove ourselves from our pets if possible. And that's really an if possible guidance, though. You can see in their guidelines, and we'll post a little guidelines on there. We've got a couple good links to the CDC website, AVMA website, that their quarantine really in their guidance to pets is an if possible. So if you are the only caretaker for a pet, or it's not possible to isolate yourself from a pet, then just go ahead and try and limit contact with the pet. Don't try and let the dog or the cat, lick inside your mouth and in your nose, that sort of thing, just for the next 2 weeks on there, next 15 days, to make sure that we don't exacerbate any situation. It's unknown, it probably won't do anything, but it's just to be on the safe side to make sure that we protect ourselves, our families, and our pets from there.
That's right. And then when we talk about self-isolating, let's talk a little bit about what does that look like? I mean, should we be locking our pets in another room and tossing kibbles through the door? What do we do?
I mean, and we're talking about self-isolating with our pets, that we are the caretakers. We really, it's kind of almost a business as normal routine in the house. That self-isolating. If you are able to self-isolate, then ideally someone else will just be taking care of the animals themselves. If you are the caretaker, you certainly can interact. You certainly can allow them to give them some stimulation, give you some stimulation on there. But we don't want to see any pets. There's no reason, there's no need to see any pets abandoned or moved because of these quarantine procedures. We've heard of a couple reports of people trying to be overly cautious and doing this, and that really isn't, that's too far. That's too far. We have no evidence that this causes any problems, no evidence of potentially spreading it to our cats or our dogs. And so we want to make sure that we keep our humans and our animals safe during this stressful time.
Okay, so great. Another point to keeping our pets safe has been being under quarantine, being under lockdown, limiting our interactions. This is including the veterinary clinic. And so what about if our vaccines or our veterinary visit is coming due soon and we're not supposed to be leaving our house? What should we do? How can we keep our pets safe?
Well, go ahead and give the first step in all of this is start that call to your veterinary clinic. Start that communication line, because that's going to be where the best communication happens. That most direct and the most kind of case specific communication that really helps your specific case and your specific scenarios be solved. We're currently seeing a lot of veterinary clinics do a wide variety of things. Some veterinary clinics are currently operating business as usual. Some veterinary clinics are moving to emergency only, or they're doing no non-essential services. And then we have kind of an in-between where they're also starting to work to try and institute procedures within their hospitals. Some clinics I've also heard about where they're going to, people are driving up, they call the receptionist, and the receptionist or a technician will come out and get the animal, bring the animal in. The person will stay in the car this entire time, and then all the communication will occur over the phone, so that there is just the kind of that less human to human contact on there. So really the number one thing is first call your local veterinarian, figure out what they're doing and what their plan is, because they're going to have the best way for you to kind of help and solve this. If you are having to self-isolate because of that, your pets really do need an essential service, go ahead and they may recommend getting but they'll help you out either finding a mobile service or figuring out what to do to help you stay safe, but also help them stay safe as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important thing, right? For everyone to be staying safe and calm.
Yes, safe and calm, safe and calm. I know we're getting a lot of information that's actually really scary information, about staying indoors. Some few places are kind of putting out that shelter in place even that's normally reserved for natural disasters, big natural disasters, and maintaining your sanity in this kind of stressful time is a hugely important thing. Hugely important thing.
That's for sure. And I guess along those lines, a lot of people at least are working from home now. So speaking of keeping your sanity, how is this, what do our cats think about this when all of a sudden we're in the middle of their day and now we're home and their routine is disrupted? What can we do to kind of keep everyone in the house sane in these kind of crazy times?
Well, that really depends on your cat. That depends on the personality of your cat. Some cats are like over the moon. They are over the moon. They have got a person that they can just sit on top of for the next 24 to 2 months, hours, and just happily to never move from there. Whereas a lot of our other cats, as we've done a lot of behavior and a lot of talking about behavior, a lot of times cats aren't really as much of pack animals and more kind of that singular personality that's like, hey, I'm happy to see you about every, once an hour or once every 2 hours, that sort of thing. But making sure that you're kind of interacting with the level that they want, interacting with their playing, give them some energy to burn. They may be a little pent up, a little bit of kind of excited. They may also feel the stress in the household and need to get some of that energy out as well. So playing with them a little bit and interacting with them would be great. What do you think? What do you think about some of those best ways to keep yourself and your cat sane?
Well, for me as a coach, I think this is such a great time to learn more about what your cat's behavior looks like all day when you're generally not there, and to kind of get a sense of what their routine really looks like. I can actually tell you almost what time of day it is based on what window my cat's sleeping in. So he rotates from my office hammock window here to the front porch guest room bed, and then he makes his way into the laundry room third level shelf. So he's like clockwork, and that's a really fun thing to watch and experience. And it's, it's funny because when you work from home, one thing I think you and I can attest to is we have a tendency to sit a lot and be sedentary. And so getting up to play with our cats and using our cat schedule of short, frequent bursts of activity, I think is actually a great way to keep yourself from going stir crazy when you're trying to work at your desk. If you're used to having to run to the mailroom or run to someone's office and ask a question, use those opportunities to, play with your cat's toy, break out the laser, maybe even, experiment with your cats and leashes.
Oh, and see some of those videos of cats that just do not want to do it at all.
Right.
And just do that old 3-year-old, I'm limp. Can't move anymore.
We call it leash paralysis, right? But it's a really fun opportunity, I think, to learn more about how your pets interact. And, and I personally have really, really enjoyed the influx of images of pets dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. So I've never been more grateful for the internet than times like these.
Oh, and there's so much that we can share and use to kind of help stay connected during this time. It can get a little lonely in our homes.
Yeah,
that certainly is true. I don't think we have as much interaction. Well, we certainly don't with all this social distancing going on right now, and sharing our cats and sharing our lives from there is, I think, a good way to help us fill that social need that we have as well.
absolutely. Nothing better than seeing how people are enjoying their interactions with their pets. It almost feels like you're cheating, right? It's the middle of the day and you get to take a break, be wearing sweatpants and playing with your cat. I mean, I think there's a lot of good to be taken from this.
I think there is as well. It'll be interesting to see how hard it is to get people to go back to normal office work afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want to stay home. I've been enjoying this time with my cats.
Now, I mean, this is the lighthearted, fun side of it, and I think that's really where the focus needs to be. But I think it's a valid question to say, how do our cats respond to our stress? If we're reading a lot of news and we're taking in so much of this current situation is incredibly stressful. You
Yeah.
know, I really think our cats know our energy and sense our energy. And I think there are times that they could be picking up on some of those stress levels.
That is certainly true. Cats and dogs have always, cats particularly, been shown to respond to those stress levels in a home. Whether stress levels, typically we think about stress levels from, job bringing home stress levels, or within relationship stress levels, or the stress levels of adding, new organisms to a house, whether it be a baby, another cat, or a dog, something like that. Where they're always kind of picking up on ourselves and what we feel our energy is like at home. Uh, and so trying to relax at home is really honestly healthy for you and healthy for the cat. These are this may be kind of the new normal for the next few weeks or a month on there. And as scary as that is, there are routines, where the good thing about this normal is we're able to spend it at home. We're able to spend it with our animals, and with, we're not having to remove ourselves from that situation very much. And so we trying to keep calm, maintaining your calm, and maintaining that routine of relaxation with playing with your cat and interacting with your cat can not only help you, but also have that extension service into your cat's overall health and kind of comfort.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefit to maybe doing things at a cat's pace, right? Slowing us down a little bit. The world is kind of teaching us to curl up, maybe take a nap in the middle of the day if you if your coworkers aren't watching. Um, I think one thing would be interesting for us to talk about, and to help our watchers understand, is what stress looks like. Since we are talking about that, what do you think some pets might be doing if they're experiencing that stress?
Well, stress in cats can have a lot of different manifestations. They're the most common one, or kind of one of the very common ones that we see, is some sort of change in diet, some sort of change in kind of GI health, whether that be in the appetite level, or it be in kind of what's in their stool, whether they, some cats can get a stress diarrhea that comes out from that. Cats, of course, are also notorious for being, known for kind of some urinary issues as well, getting kind of stressed, what's known as feline idiopathic cystitis, where they kind of get into the stress level and start to have some inflammation in their bladder that can cause discomfort, cause that when they're going to the bathroom, and forcing them, or kind of making them feel like they need to drink more as well. Always maintain, whenever you're looking at your cat, whenever you're thinking about your cat's routine, we always like to think about how are they eating and drinking, peeing and pooping. Let's make, well, these are some very nice basic functions, routine functions that we should be having some consistency on. And so just knowing that routine for your cat can really help you start to pick up on signs a little earlier as well. Now, this is not just that's not the only stress ones. I'm going to have you give me a couple stress ones as well.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, right? Cats are about routine. And
Mhm.
so anytime there is a change in routine, we can start to see some indications of stress. And like you said, it manifests in a change in their very own routine. One thing I've worked through with a lot of different clients in coaching when we have cats that are stressed about their situation is scratching behaviors.
Mhm.
So every now and then we'll see our cats start to scratch a piece of furniture, or maybe a doorway, or some kind of object that they have never scratched before, in an effort to sort of express their feelings. And then the next that I think people really talk about the most is the vocalization, right? So then when we have cats that march around screaming at us, mostly stressed, I think, at that point because their food bowl's empty, and thank God you're home finally in the middle of the day to fill it when it happens, right? But we have cats will vocalize. So I think paying close attention to your cat's routine and any change in those types of behaviors. Stress is something we want to be thinking about. Health conditions are what we want to be looking out for and how it affects them. But being aware, that our cats are subject to stress. And so maybe a little extra lap time and a little extra, love and attention is what we all need right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is such a time for relaxation. I know in the stress, as we say that, it's so stressful, and finding those moments, finding those areas that we can relax and really just kind of take a good deep breath and realize, well, not realize, but just understand that the world is stressful right now, but being able to take a moment for ourselves and spend it with our animals is great. It's
That's right, a
fantastic.
little extra gratitude. We get to hang out with our pets all day.
Well, all right. So we've got a couple little questions that have been coming through, and I know we've going to kind of talk. We've talked about a little bit about these. You know, a lot of these that we're seeing. We've got some that you know, I've been talking about my cat shots are coming due, and we've already kind of talked about those. Remember, you know, call your veterinarian, get those case specific advice coming on, and you know, we also have a question about some. We'll say elective surgeries coming up, whether it's a dental surgery for stomatitis and going from there. And so really that's going to roll back to, you know, go ahead and call your veterinarian. You know, if you do end up quarantining, that may be what considered more of an elective surgery, or surgery that doesn't have to occur specifically on this day and can be delayed for a week, delayed for something like that. Making sure that you know that information and already start that conversation a week ahead of time, 3 days ahead of time, so that the hospital knows what's coming in. They will be so grateful that you did not call them 2 minutes before you showed up and had this situation going on, letting them, there's so much information coming in at this point in time that letting them have time to sort through it and plan for you is going to be the best way to get cat the health that it needs. Oh my goodness. All right. You know, one of the big ones that we have that's already kind of come up, and both of my cats are immunocompromised. You know, is there a concern that they could catch this virus? Is there a concern that they could catch this virus? And so I know that's a little more in my area, on that standpoint. Yes, but we certainly know, you know, from the CDC, from the AVMA, we're going to roll back to this all this time. Right now, it really seems all the information we have is that COVID-19 as a virus is showing signs of being pretty species specific, and that species right now is humans. So while we are always learning new things about this virus, at this time, there's no reason to be concerned about your dogs or your cats being able to catch the virus, whether or not they're healthy, normal and healthy, or immune compromised themselves. They'll have a host, you know, you already are doing, if they're already having immune compromised, I'm sure you're already doing a lot of things to protect them. And keeping on those good guidelines that your veterinarian, the person in charge of the chemotherapy has already told you, follow those good guidelines, and those are the ones that you want to use to protect yourself at this time. So,
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And I think you bring up such a good point that I was like, yes, if we have immune compromisation, we always want to be careful. And I think this gives us such a good time to be aware of, you know, the pets and people around us who do struggle with immune compromisation on a day-to-day basis, already on top of this. So there's been a lot of social awareness increase, and it is no different with your pets. Obviously, we want to be using those same courtesies, and you want to be absolutely aware with that conversation with your veterinarian. But we are really feeling comfortable right now with the information we're being provided that, you know, your pets are safe from this particular virus.
Yeah. And so, you know, this is a good time for us to learn a lot about different viruses and, you know, about the diseases that we can transmit back and forth to our cats as well. You know, the ones that we really always think about are rabies and various parasites. So in this time, we always want to make sure, even if we've got indoor cats, it's always recommended we've got some good flea prevention, good flea and tick prevention in general, just to make sure our cats are safe. You know, those parasites are what we're really going to see spreading back and forth. Particularly if you've got an outdoor cat, making sure you've got that good flea and tick prevention will really help cut down on the amount of diseases that can be brought back into your home.
So, doctors, I wonder, I don't know if you know, or if you can help us understand better, but why is it that we are not transmitting and seeing transmission between pets and people? What's the difference? Is it DNA based that the virus is not transmissible?
Well, you know, when we think about a species specific, and this kind of question, this topic was brought up by Mike as well in here. You know, this kind of species specific virus that we end up seeing, a lot of times the way viruses or bacteria may work is they look for very specific typically either cell receptors or markers that they're using to invade a cell. And so these can differ from animals. They can be, sometimes they're common, sometimes they're not common, but they can differ from animal to animal on there. And so depending on which one they're using to invade, so they may be using one that is very specific to human cells to invade human cells on there. And that's what really helps us get that species specificity for our virus.
I mean, I think that's really fascinating. And again, I think we're learning more and more about it every day, right?
Oh, yeah, we are. And, you know, we constantly see updates about, I mean, like I said, it's almost hour by hour. We're seeing numbers change, we're seeing things change. So taking some time to relax at home and not always be glued to it, it's probably good for your stress level and your cat's stress level. You know, there is the CDC guidelines, those get updated all the time. But, you know, I would almost try and get, if you are really interested into the COVID and more research, get into a routine where you're checking it maybe once a day, where you've got kind of an hour set aside that you're going to really dive into the new information for the day. If you know you're going to be staying at home, hanging out at home, you know, that's not going to change your exposure pattern at that point in time. Give yourself some time to relax, do some work, hang out with your cats or read a book, whatever you need to do. And then come back to that. I mean, we even saw just recently, there's, you know, originally we were talking about how the virus, when coughs kind of came out and fell pretty quickly, but now we're starting to see some new information about how long it can stay kind of suspended in the air and things like that. You know, and that, you know, we've got some more of those, that study came out through CNBC, which is, we've got some news source, I got a good source from there. And I'm sure will be updated within kind of the CDC protective guidelines at this point in time. So.
Yeah. One thing I think that's really happening to be a big conversation in the animal world, and Christina brought up on this conversation, is what about fostering kitties? It seems like there's a big demand for fostering with the fear of shelters closing. What do you think about that with different, we've already got cats in the house maybe, is that fair? What does that look like? Should people be going out and fostering and trying to facilitate this time?
I mean, fostering is always really a key kind of portion to maintaining health in a lot of our feral cat, well, I say feral adoptive cat or kind of wild cat / domestic cat population. Those cats that are kind of transitioning into the domestic world a little bit more. You know, fostering, we don't, from a disease standpoint, since we don't expect this, we haven't seen the evidence of this disease really being affecting cats or dogs or being able to transmit it. We're still worried about our common diseases that whenever we introduce a cat into a new population that we're worried about. You know, no matter this entirely aside, COVID-19 entirely aside, whenever you're bringing a new cat or dog into a population, it's always a good idea to isolate and quarantine them from the general population, whether it be in a garage. It might be starting to get a little too warm for a garage now, but, you know, somewhere, or too cold, depending on where you are. I'm not quite sure there.
True.
You know, but a good air conditioned, kind of temperature controlled room where we can, for about 2 weeks, just to see if there's anything going on with them. If they do have any diseases, whether it be parasites or intestinal, or, you know, that they can transmit to everyone else, and get those fixed and cured before they're entered in.
Still follow those regular precautions, but if you think you have a little extra room, now might be a really great time to foster a kitty, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, I want to shamelessly plug, when you fall in love with that foster kitty, we'll do a free DNA kit for you, right? You send in adoption papers to us and you get a free DNA for your brand new foster fail.
No, right? There's so many compliments there. So yeah, check out our Facebook page. It's posted up on our Facebook page where we've got, we're running to help make sure that this cat population isn't forgotten and doesn't become, you know, injured in this point in time. I know there's so much going on that we always want to make sure that our cats are being thought about and being happy and healthy on here. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think, you know, we are trying to learn more about this, and, you know, we know that our partnership with Adopt a Pet is also really important, and that's why we want to talk about it. Just keep those shelters flowing and keep the cats moving in and out, even in times when maybe we're not getting out quite as much, because we're really going to see ripple effects from this, right? And so we want to be thinking about all of our industry partners who are, and pets, of course, that are going to be affected, not even so much by the coronavirus, but by the ripple effect of this this whole society thing we've got going on, right?
Yeah, and we'll see, with the changes to the economy, changes with people going in and out and in and out. And so that has, that changes our world. That'll change our world for the next month, truly, honestly. And so being able to think about those repercussions before they happen, before we get into a bad spot with these, let's get ahead of it and solve some of those problems out there.
Yeah, to solve the world's problems. That's just what we're here for, right?
That's what we're here for. All
Wait,
right.
I think we went through most of our questions. Is there anything we haven't covered yet?
No, I don't think there is. One of the big things, always, of course, wash your hands when you're coming home. First thing you do when you get inside, wash your hands good. Soap and warm water for 20 seconds. There's some great hand washing guidelines on the CDC. We're going to go ahead and post under this some of the CDC and the AVMA links that have some good guidelines for your pets, good guidelines for your people. But we just want you all to stay safe out there. And I've had a great time doing this. I hope you have as well.
I've had a ton of fun. Absolutely.
Well, and we may be, looking to do things more regularly as we're all kind of stuck at home. So if you do have any recommendations or things you want to hear talked about, or conversations or formats, things you want to hear, just let us know. We're going to have this posted on Facebook and then also on YouTube as well as the conversation. So leave your feedback on Facebook, on YouTube somewhere, and we'll get to it and really, get to know you better and see you a little more on this.
That's right. Thanks, Dr. Chris, for taking the time helping us understand this better. It's really important, I feel like, for people to understand that, your pets are safe. You can keep them safe, that we're here. We want to keep this community informed with the best information out there that we can. And, to really make sure that we're answering your questions, because we want, all your pets to have healthy and happy lives.
Yeah. So, all righty. Well, y'all have such a great day. Keep an eye out for us. Keep an eye out for a potential another episode. Thank you, Beckie, for your time and hanging out and chatting and having some coffee. And, we do have some sweet little Basepaws mugs as well.
I hear mine's on the way. So next time I'm going to have my Basepaws mug and I'll be this level with caffeine.
Perfect. Oh, all righty. Well, everyone have a great afternoon, great morning, and we will talk to y'all later.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See y'all.